Hello there, YouTube, and welcome to Monday's edition of The Breakfast Club. I'm Got That Funk. I'd like to thank you for joining me. Also want to thank Kazoom for his topic last week. I thought the discussion was great. It's exactly what The Breakfast Club is supposed to be all about. Everybody had different points of view, but I thought the tone of the conversation and the content quality was fantastic, and that includes the contributions from our audience in the comment sections. I really appreciate everybody sort of getting into it. And I look forward to the discussion about this week's topic. But before I get into that, I just want to say thank you as well to my friend Sarahon06 for sort of setting me straight about something in my video last week. Last week in my video, I made the contention that VenomFangX was the victim of cyber harassment based on the fact that he received such a large volume of video responses to a relatively low number of videos that he had created. I mean, he made like a couple dozen videos and received several thousand responses. And my argument last week was sort of that, that number by itself is sort of tantamount to harassment. And Sarahon disagreed with me and told me why. And the funny thing is, everything Sarahon said to me in his comment is stuff that I actually used to think myself. Sean was an adult, VenomFangX was an adult making contentious videos about a controversial topic in front of an audience that he knew to disagree. And so, of course, he should have expected a large response, and he should have expected those responses to be certainly contradictory, if not derisory. But considering Sean's own behavior on YouTube in terms of his smugness, his arrogance, his obnoxiousness, his deviousness, his pathological lying, it's no surprise that Sean was vilified in the way that he was. And I can't personally, on reflection, really describe what happened as harassment, especially when you add into the context, which is that in those days, 08, 09, 2010, the entire format of YouTube, the way YouTube was marketing itself as a social media platform, was to encourage video exchanges between its users. So when you factor in all that stuff, yeah, you can't really call that harassment. I made the mistake, and I'm going to raise up my hands and say my bad, and I'm perfectly glad to be corrected, so thanks for that. Anyway, right, on with the topic of this video, which is rights and privileges. Now, it's my personal opinion that there's no such thing as rights, really. Rights are a figment of the human imagination, and if rights were innate, if rights were something that we were all endowed with by virtue of being born, everyone in the world would have the same rights, but that's clearly not the case. The UN Declaration of Human Rights, which is supposed to be for the whole world, of course, and the whole world has signed up to it as an aspiration. That actually has more rights guaranteed to citizens than are guaranteed to Americans in the Bill of Rights, and indeed has more rights than most people on the planet get to enjoy as well. So the UN Declaration of Human Rights is really more of an aspirational guideline than it is a document of reality. I know not all human beings have those rights. And so are rights really rights if not everybody has them? I don't think you can really say that they are. I understand the tendency. We've been basically conditioned, brainwashed maybe, in America to think of ourselves as having rights. And we want to believe with all of our heart, I think, that everybody in America has equal rights. But I think we all know we don't have equal rights. We are entitled to expect equal rights. We're entitled to expect to be treated equally in the eyes of the law. We are entitled to expect that as the bare minimum. But I think it's obvious that that's not always the case. Take the criminal justice system as an example. Blacks and whites consume drugs at roughly the same percentage ratio per population. And yet black people caught with drugs are 4 times more likely to get arrested for being caught with drugs, and once arrested are more likely to get convicted for possession of drugs as well as compared to whites. That's a disadvantage that blacks have in the criminal justice system. Therefore, it stands to reason, conversely, that the white people have an advantage in the criminal justice system. That's not the fault of the white people for being white. Nobody can help their ethnicity, right? However, you have to admit that that's an advantage that you have in the system. I'm not saying white people never go to jail for having drugs, okay? I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're less likely to get arrested, less likely to get convicted if arrested. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that that's a privilege. Privileges are by definition something that some people have by virtue of their status and some people do not have. by virtue of their status. Rights are something that everybody has regardless of their status, and I would argue that no such thing exists. Our status has everything to do with how much of our rights we are enabled to exercise. I'm going to link a video by my good friend DevShell2 in the description box below. It's from 2 summers ago in the aftermath of the Michael Brown murder by the cop in Ferguson. And it's called White Privilege and Why It Pisses Me Off. I agree with every single word Rob says in that video. And if you're one of the Breakfast Club hosts, I absolutely insist that you watch that video before you make yours. And I hope members of the audience will watch it as well. Because, you know, what we call rights simply aren't rights unless everybody has them. I have the right to free speech, I think, right? I think I can speak my mind. I can talk about my opinions without worrying about getting arrested for having opinions or for condemning or criticizing the government, that kind of thing. I'm not going to go to jail for that. There's plenty of people in the world who will go to jail for expressing political opinions that are contrary to what's permitted in that society. So what I call a right is actually a privilege. And within my own society, what I call a right is actually a privilege because some people don't get to exercise their rights to the same degree that I do. That's my argument. What do you guys think? Do you think white privilege is a thing or isn't a thing? Do you think privilege is a thing or isn't a thing? Do you think that rights are a thing? Or is it really varying degrees of privilege and there is no such thing as rights? Food for thought. Sister Danger, I know, has strong opinions on this subject, and I'm looking forward to seeing her video response tomorrow, as well as Nathan Brendan Masters, our new host for Wednesdays, and everybody else on the Breakfast Club. And I'm very much looking forward to what you've got to say in the comment section down below. Until next time, may all your ups and downs be ups.